You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. The Options Insider Radio Network is sponsored by Fidelity Investments. Fidelity's Option Trade Builder tool can help you confidently build an options trade in 3 simple steps. Just choose a strategy, select a contract, and then review the benefits and risks of the trade. Learn more about Option Trade Builder at fidelity.com/options. Options trading entails significant risk and is not appropriate for all investors. Certain complex option strategies carry additional risk. Before trading options, contact Fidelity Investments by calling 800-544-5115 to receive a copy of the characteristics and risks of standardized options. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
Join us now for the expert source for inside information on the options markets. It's time for Options Insider Radio with your host, Mark Longo.
Welcome back to Options Insider Radio, the interview program here on the old network where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of options and derivatives and proceed to pick their brains for the benefit of you, the listener. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting, at least we hope so, Options Insider Radio Network. And my next guest here on the old program from the scenic and indeed quite sunny, it's warm down here in D.C., the sunny STA 2018 Conference, is an old friend of the program. She is Jen Nayar, the CEO over there at Vela. Jen, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Mark. Good to be back.
Well, Jen, the last time you and I spoke, well, actually, we've spoken twice before. The first time we spoke, which was over a year ago, at the OIC conference of last year, so about a year and a half ago, you promised us you had some interesting things in store. And sure enough, a month or two later, you followed through on that. We get a lot of promises here, and they don't always deliver. You guys actually delivered. You went out on a big acquisition spree through the space. You, of course, acquired Object Trading, and then later on Options City. So it's been about a year and change since those acquisitions have gone down. So catch us up. How are things going? How's that integration process going?
Sure, yeah. It's been a busy year, to say the least. In terms of sort of technology and staff, integration is well underway. As you know, with the Options City, they're very dominant in the options space. So it's challenging to maintain that position while you're also integrating 3 different firms. But I think we've done a good job. I think we've pulled it off. I think on the development side of things, we've made sure that we now have full redundancy in terms of resources. So as you know, Option City was very local, Chicago-based, had made some attempts to get overseas and really weren't not that successful. We now have full redundancy on the engineering side, so our engineering centre in Belfast also developed the Metro product, so we have more bench strength, if you like. And that's also helped us gain some traction in Europe. So a lot of interest coming from Israel and the Nordic regions now that they see that the product is under a much sort of broader umbrella.
Now, Jen, a lot of people have sat right where you are. I've had big firms, small firms, and tell me about how, you just acquired someone and the integration is going to go super smoothly and they expect it to be done in, 3 months or 6 months or whatever the case. And it inevitably stretches out longer. They always encounter some surprises they didn't expect. What for you guys, it's been a year now, what were some of the surprises you guys encountered as you're doing all this integrating of different platforms that probably you didn't expect maybe going in?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not the first integration I've done, so I'd like to think I walked into it with eyes wide open, right? So I doubt I would have said that I expect it to go smoothly. There's always bumps in the road, right? And there's the human factor as well. You know, you're now integrating staff in multiple locations. So, and just trying to maintain the competitive edge while all of that's going on. I think the biggest challenge for us, if I'm honest, was a lot of the regulation coming out. More so in Europe on MiFID II, so that put the team under an awful lot of pressure at a time when we're trying to integrate products. So I think that was, you know, you can never time these things perfectly, but you know, regulation just continues to be, you know, a challenge for our customers and a challenge for us. So I think that was the biggest thing, is that we had major deliverables on the regulatory front at the same time trying to integrate. So
that was your fault for trying to do a cross-global merger.
I know,
era.
That's what I get for showing off, right? But you know, so I'm glad that some of that is behind us, and I think the focus is now back on making sure we keep pace with client demand in terms of the product. And actually, just last week we hired a new CTO, which I'm pretty excited about, Scott Visconti, and he actually has a deep knowledge in the options space. So I'm pretty excited to see where strategically he can work with me to take the products.
So if you're in, let's say, an Option City client right now and you execute a trade or you're signing on board, is all that seamlessly integrated into the back end now with Object and all that, or does that still have a little bit of a ways to go?
It's seamless, so there's definitely not been any disruption to service, as I would say. But I think there's more that we can do, right? So there's other things that we want to do with the platform. I think we do want to expand across asset class. We're probably a little bit behind on that, if I'm honest, because of some of the reasons that I explained earlier. But I like to think there's been no service interruption in terms of the clients. And now with Scott on board, we can go back round, particularly to the Chicago crowd, and re-engage them in terms of where we should be going next. That said, crypto is top of everybody's list, right? And a lot of our clients that are on Metro have been the most vocal about how they'd like to see some changes to the product for us to support crypto.
I think we're legally obligated to discuss crypto. Everyone who comes through these doors has to talk about crypto.
Sure, why not?
We'll get to all that in a couple of...
We're also cool. We carry that stuff, right?
Yes, yes. Everyone these days is fascinated with crypto. But before we get there, you mentioned you know, your new CTO. Was that done specifically, like you mentioned, to kind of maybe cater or focus on that kind of Chicago derivatives crowd and get them kind of up to speed and build the functionality that audience desires?
Yeah, that was certainly a factor in the search. So our prior CTO, you know, we'd had a great run together. He had decided that he wanted to move on after we did the acquisitions. That was our kind of deal. So it was certainly a factor in the search to look for somebody that had the deep domain expertise in options, so that we can really focus on that product. You know, Metro is a flagship product for Vela. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see what Scott can bring to the table.
We have a lot of different people coming in here who, you know, work in all different aspects of the option space, on the vendor space, on the analytics, on the exchange, you name it. Yeah. And it's challenging for all of them these days for a lot of different reasons. You mentioned the regulatory is one, but also kind of just growing your presence within the option space and going out and acquiring new clients, new end users for a product like Metro is a challenge in this environment where everyone's kind of fighting for, let's say, a similar pie, a similar pool out there. What are you guys doing? What's the plan to really kind of go out there and spearhead and bring in new users, new adoptees of Metro going forward?
Well, that's probably a question that you should be asking my sales guy, but believe it or not, our number one sales guy at the moment is the guy that's selling Metro. So he's doing very well. I think for us, to get new segments of the market, certainly global expansion is something that we're focused on. So, you know, we're a dominant player in the Chicago market. I think Europe is really where we're starting to see more demand.
And people always, particularly in the hardcore options segment, they always like platform tweaks, upgrades, you know, cool new tools.
Those come in thick and fast. Yeah, we're not short of things to get done from our existing client base, and like I said, I like to think that we're keeping pace with that. Something like crypto will be a step change, right? So as we re-engage our sort of diehard Metro users, I'm hoping that they'll engage with Scott on really what's the next gen platform look like. So we will start those rounds soon. In fact, he's going to be at FIA Chicago in a couple of weeks, where we can get him introduced to the community out there and start that dialogue.
So you mentioned crypto a couple of times. Obviously, it's a top of mind thing for a lot of people in the space these days. I saw you guys have a release recently. You partnered, I believe, with CoinMarketCap to put out more data. Walk us through what your thoughts are on the crypto space. Obviously, the derivatives aspect of it is still somewhat nascent, but it's growing. A lot of people are excited. What excites you guys about crypto?
Well, I think we, as a technology provider, we're client driven, right? So I've never been a fan of if we build it, they will come, right? So a lot of the demand from our client was that they wanted data delivered in the same way they have it today, which is normalized on our. We have a product called Superfeed. We have a large universe of clients that consume that, and so crypto data is pretty fragmented. Everybody's got some. And we do a very good job at consolidating and normalizing data. So it made sense to us. CoinMarketCap was a very attractive partner for us. They got a great product, but they needed to get into that institutional space, which is where we sit fairly and squarely. So it was a good marriage, and I expect to see more of that. I think you'll see a few more of those releases coming as we start to try and connect all the dots as it relates to it, because it's very, very fragmented. And so if we can bring all of that data together in a common place, then I think that's the answer to get into the institutional.
That fragmentation is obviously an opportunity for players like you, right?
Absolutely, it's what we do best.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, I just did a big panel on kind of the future of crypto derivatives about a month or so ago at a big event in Chicago. And one of the takeaways from that, from everyone we were talking to there, is that you're right. The crypto just isn't there yet from an institutional use case. These guys want to come in and be able to hit the bid for $10,000. They want to be able to do size. They don't want to deal with all these custodian issues and all these other things you have in the crypto space. They want to be able to execute quickly. You mentioned, so the fragmentation is an issue. The liquidity is an issue. The speed. There's a lot of issues that still remain there for institutional. So it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity for a firm like yours to be the intermediary and maybe solve some of those problems.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's certainly how we are positioning ourselves, right? Where we are a trusted provider in the data space and also on execution. We have strong capabilities with book building, so it just makes sense. It's a natural evolution for us, and I think that there are a lot of exchanges popping up out there that I know are probably toying with the idea of building all of this stuff themselves, it's for us. We can bring a product to market in a matter of days as opposed to months and years. So we're certainly out engaging with people like CoinMarketCap to see if we can solve some of those problems for them.
It might be interesting. We were talking earlier about finding new users. This might be an interesting. We've certainly seen this for us, just anecdotally. People reaching out to us and engaging with the network, who aren't the traditional options end user or trader, but they're fascinated. They're deep down the crypto rabbit hole, and so I'm sure for you guys it might be a similar thing where this might be new users coming in who wouldn't traditionally use a product like a Metro, but then they're coming in for the crypto data and they say, oh, maybe I like this feature. I want to start using this. And so maybe that might be a long way around to what we were talking about earlier, finding that elusive new user for the products.
Yeah, I think so. And they come from a different segment, right? So we've always served the capital markets. A lot of the guys that trade in crypto are, very different,
yes.
Very different species, right?
Yes.
So it will be a fun ride, I'm sure.
That's been kind of fascinating for me to watch. Just we're based in Chicago, obviously, and we've been knee deep in that derivative scene in Chicago for a long time, and to see this this new product category, and you're at this new user and this new mindset really come land with a bomb in the middle of this relatively staid financial services arena. It has been interesting to watch them intermingle and sometimes come at loggerheads against each other.
It's a bit disruptive at times, right? But that's fine. That's good. It forces some change, right? And it forces a fresh perspective on some of these things. So we welcome it.
Yeah, I mean, so I know the Chicago community certainly has. Who would have thought a couple of years ago that Chicago would become the the crypto trading hub that it has become? There was a lot of, I think, latent infrastructure just kind of sitting fallow as the floors have been winding down, and they were waiting for the next big thing. And it seems like crypto, for better or for worse, has become that next big thing. And
it is, and I don't think anyone is really clear on where it's going to go and how long it's going to stay. But for now, we definitely have demand to play a role in some capacity. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully some more derivatives products in the near future, so we could sink our teeth into those. But in the meantime, yeah, it has been fascinating. I've lost count of the number of people who've been cycling through our studio in the last 6 months who are firmly on the crypto side of the space. It's been very different for us, which is interesting. Again, it brings a little bit of a fresh perspective. Speaking of perspectives, what you're looking for, what brings you down here to STA, a traditionally equities type event? What are your goals coming down here this year?
Well, I do sit on the board of STA, so I'm here obviously to support the fellow board members. And for us, this is our community, right? This is where we all grew up from in the equities space. So always interesting to it's a great network opportunity, but also just to hear what's going on the street, what's going on up the hill, and to hear a little bit more from the exchanges and the regulators. Again, anything that the exchanges and the regulators are thinking of doing, we have to keep pace with that because it will drive some form of demand on our clients that we're going to have to deliver. So, it's just good to be part of that and just engage with our clients all in one place.
I know there was a group that went over to Capitol Hill this morning. Were you part of that? Did you have a chance to participate in that?
I was not. I always wonder, because I'm not actually a US citizen, whether I would be allowed in the building anyway.
They'll hear your accent, right? And just tackle you at the door.
Exactly. What does she know? So no, I didn't make it, but maybe next time.
It's interesting, from the feedback I've been hearing, it does sound like, sometimes some of these things that they're bringing are a little bit, shall we say, deep in the weeds, CAT and, tick size pilot and things like that might make a traditional layperson, let alone a congressman's, eyes glaze over. But it sounds like they're somewhat receptive to these issues. So that's always a good thing to hear. You never know, kind of it changes with the political winds that are blowing. Yes. But it does seem like we're in a more receptive air, shall we say.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way.
And, I think last time we chatted, you left us with a lot of hints, teases for big things that were coming down the pike from Vela. Any you want to leave us with any more, our audience, or maybe there's something we neglected to touch on that you wanted to hit on before we wrap up? Now is the time, Jen. If you're going to acquire half the industry, you can it's just you and I talking. No one's listening.
Well, the big news obviously was the appointment of our new CTO, again with the options experience. So watch this space in terms of new things that are coming on the product and the horizon. We've recently launched in Asia, so that's quite exciting for us. Mostly on the direct market access side for futures. So we will do a land and expand in Asia. And, as I kind of hint, is that, we've always got our eye on other strategic partnerships or acquisitions, so nothing on the immediate horizon, but never say never. So we'll see what we'll see what 2019 brings.
Well, I like chatting with you because this industry all too often is a tale of contraction and of stagnation. So to hear you coming in, talking of growth and acquisition, these are positive things that we like to hear in the space. Well, Jen, I'm glad to get a chance to catch up with you. I'm looking forward to seeing how all these myriad different factors that we discussed here, how they unfold in the marketplace in the coming months.
Thanks very much for having me.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/The Options Insider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.